Milwaukee, known for its beautiful weather, the Milwaukee Bucks, and, of course, beer. But beyond that are local businesses that keep our city moving. One of them is Pilot Project Brewing, a business started by two best friends in 2017.
Back when I got the initial call from Dan, I eventually moved to Chicago, but before that even I would make day trips. I lived in Madison, Wisconsin at the time, so it wasn't too far of a drive, but I would come down for the weekend and we would just utilize his garage. We'd move the cars out and start brewing on a very small one-barrel system, and we would try everything from lagers to pale ales, IPAs, stouts, you name it. And a few of those are still some of the beers that we've produced today.
Pilot Project helps other companies by giving them an opportunity to brew their beers as well as expose them to new markets.
So as a brewery incubator, we're pretty unique wherever we would go. I think the nice thing that makes Pilot Project Brewing so unique is that we bring in other startups or other experienced breweries that are looking to kind of penetrate new markets. And so every time you come to Pilot Project, we have something new on tap. We don't stick to necessarily the flagship beers that you see and can get anywhere. There's always something new and something innovative here. I think initially we were kind of like looking to just bring on anyone we could at the time. But once you start to kind of add 3, 4, 5 of those partners, you kind of try to balance out your portfolio in a sense. So we're not going to necessarily always take on 3 breweries that focus on a specific style of beer and even specific stories or backstories. So always just trying to diversify and make sure that we kind of can give every single opportunity a shot is usually what we're looking for. So if we've worked with everyone from NA, non-alcoholic beverages, to kombuchas, to of course beer, but different styles of beer, different innovative processes that people utilize in beer. So anything new and creative and diverse is really what we're looking for to kind of just help accelerate their goals.
Pilot Project makes a point to try to make things local.
Supporting local, it builds your community. It builds the culture, it builds everything around you. That's why we love to keep things as local as possible. If we ever have guest taps, it's local breweries or it's local food vendors that come in. We've partnered with local artists for murals and whatnot. But keeping things local just means you're kind of creating a tighter relationship and connection with everyone that supports you. And so if people are going to support you, we truly feel like you need to support them back. And so that's why whenever we have the opportunity to work local, we do that, and we certainly urge others to do that as well.
Pilot Project also offers fun activities like a trivia game night and also a tour that gives people an inside look of what goes on throughout the facility with stops to sample different beers along the way.
Essentially, they're able to get a little bit more of a sneak peek at the production side of the facility here. Everyone's welcome to the public side, the tasting room, the restaurant. But on the tours, you get to go behind the scenes a little bit more. You get to be a little more up and close personal with the equipment, see how from start to finish our finished products are made. You also get to, along the way, try out beers from every single client and partner that we are working with. So it's kind of like a little interactive, I suppose, history of everything and also a projection of where we're looking to grow.
This would be the start of the tour. If we were doing a tour, we would have the folks gather here at the bar in the barrel room. We would just give them their first sample. We have 5 samples on the tour. This would be where the first sample would be. And particularly lately it's been an Il Serpente. It's an Italian Pilsner, so we would describe that beer and then a little description of the beer itself and the style of beer, and then we would take the folks over to the mezzanine to start the tour. And on the mezzanine in the first part of the tour, we talk about the history of Pilot Project, who we are, what we do, the owners, how they came up with Pilot Project. So then the next step of the tour is actually talk about how beer is brewed. Behind me, you have those 4 vessels back there. That's called the brew house. You have the mash tun, the lauter tun, the boil kettle, and the whirlpool. And I go through each of those vessels and what happens in each of those vessels to produce beer. Then at this part of the tour, I talk about the building a little bit. It was a former Pabst building, the last building built by Pabst in 1977. We have a sign here that used to be on the original building for Pabst when they did tours, telling it was a warehouse distribution center. It had loading docks in the west end of the building, the east end of the building. There's a garage below where trucks used to load up for Pabst. And I talk a little bit about the history of the restaurant. When this was formerly Milwaukee Brewing Company, first came in this facility in 2018. The restaurant was not part of Milwaukee Brewing, but it is now part of Pilot Project. So we are all the same company now with the restaurant and the brewery. The next part of the tour is to point out this sculpture here. It's a giant beer bottle. It was created by a program on the History Channel, Milwaukee Blacksmith, in 2016. The producers want a beer-related sculpture, so he did that with the Milwaukee skyline around the sculpture. The next part of the tour, I talk about the cellar. This is where we ferment our beers in these various tanks here. The 2 tanks on the left there, those are bright tanks. That's where we infuse more CO2 into the beer, get that foamy head that we want on there. And then the machine to the right of those tanks is our kegging machine. So if we want to put beer in kegs, we'll use that machine. They start in the back on the left and they go to various stations of emptying, rinsing, cleaning, sanitizing, and filling. And then they come out of the back on the right side and we put them on pallets after that. The Pabst sign behind me was actually at Summerfest, the huge music festival we have at the lakefront every year since 1968. When Pabst closed in 1996, that sign was taken down off of Summerfest and put in the basement of this building, and it sat in this abandoned building since '96.
Once it's time to brew, cans go down the S-shaped device called a lowerator. Then cans get filled and get separated depending on whether or not they will go into a 4-pack or case. Then they are passed onto the next line, which is distribution.
So this machine we come by, we stop right in front of, it's called the palletizer. The trays will come in on these rollers here, and it'll turn them this way and that way and automatically stack them up on pallets in the machine here until it gets like several layers on a pallet. This is our warehouse where we have our empty can storage. So these are towers of cans all along the whole wall here. This is where we store them, and then as we need them, we'll take them out and put them onto the line. This is more of our warehouse area. You can see this is the finished product, and here they'll be loaded on trucks probably later today or tomorrow. And then this other way is more cardboard products, lids, other things that we're storing that we use in our production facility. This is our 6,000 square foot cooler where we store our kegs. They're half barrels and 1/6 barrels. We call them sixtels or cans. The last stop on our tour here is our lab, and we have all the instruments we need to check anything and everything with the beer to make sure it's a quality product. Andrew is our microbiologist, and he's always checking everything every day. He takes very detailed notes, so everything is just perfect. If sometimes things go wrong, sometimes you can fix it, sometimes you can't. If we can't fix it, we'll just dump a tank. If we have to dump a tank, we'll do that. There's no reason to put out a bad product. We just have to bite the losses, if you will. So this is our lab to just check everything to do with the beer and make sure we have a very quality product.
Pilot Project has something for everyone. And one thing is for certain, quality is met in every aspect.
There's a niche for everyone, and I think we do our best to supply that niche for everyone. It's funny, we always kind of said when we opened up a brewery, well, like, my parents don't drink beer, but we'll find a way to make sure that they can enjoy something that we create. And so we've worked with clientele, and we've also produced products ourselves that are not just beer. It's hard kombucha, hard seltzers, and now with Milwaukee, it's ready to drink cocktails. We also serve wine in Milwaukee, so we kind of have a little bit of something for everyone. But whether you're new to the products, whether you're a really hardcore craft beer drinker, you'll find something that you'll like.
If you're out exploring Milwaukee and are looking for something light, or you're just in the mood for a protein shake or a quick pick-me-up during the day, check out La Via Nutrition. Started by Jessica in 2022, Jessie was 9 months pregnant when she first opened the doors to La Via Nutrition.
So I started off as a nutrition coach / personal trainer, and then I worked as a paramedic, did all the things. I went based off of like always drinking really bad energy drinks, but loving protein shakes and having nowhere to stop. So I just decided that I wanted to make it like an accessible spot for people to stop for what I like genuinely thought that would be a good place to stop, but I didn't have it around. I signed my lease February 1st, and I gave birth February 27th. So between the 1st and the 27th, honestly, it was like the craziest 3 weeks. I was still working at the hospital full time. So I was there and I was like planning my floors and I was planning my bar and I was calling the plumber and all this stuff while working and almost giving birth to a kid. So then when I gave birth to him, obviously like I was on maternity leave from the hospital. They didn't give me any maternity like pay or anything. Like I got nothing, right? So my drive was like, I literally need to open this up because I have no income coming in, and obviously like they don't care, you know? So I did, I literally finished everything up and I opened before my maternity leave was even done for the hospital. So basically from having a kid to my, 7 weeks of maternity leave, I opened this up.
Jessie says the name La Via originates from the concept of creating community, but also from the importance of community, unity, and support.
La Villa comes from like a village of people because it honestly took like my family and friends to help me out to open this up and also to like take care of him. So it all kind of like went together and it just felt right.
You won't feel guilty eating anything from La Via Nutrition. From protein shakes to teas to waffles, everything tastes amazing and is filled with nutrients and vitamins.
So like you have other smoothie shacks, right? So that's where people go. They're like, oh, let me go get a smoothie. And then if you go to smoothie places, they normally have like a protein option to add to maybe a protein shake. Or they have like one protein shake option, which is still like a smoothie with like whey protein in it or something. What we do here is all of our shakes are protein shakes, right? But they're not just protein shakes, they're meal replacements. So they don't just have like protein in them or, you know, creatine or vitamin or like just a regular protein shake. They have all vitamins and nutrients that you normally would want in a meal. That's why it's called a meal replacement. So like essentially if you need breakfast, you come in, you get a shake, you're getting probably more vitamins than you would in like your typical breakfast that you think is like healthy, right? Because you're mostly getting your what would be in veggies and fiber, like your iron, your vitamins, plus your protein. So it adds that, and it's without consciously even thinking about it. You don't pick like a shake and go, oh, can you add protein? No, they're all protein shakes. Now my teas, those are like a healthy energy drink. So you go to the gas station, you go to the store or whatever, and you're like, I'm gonna get a no honey, or I'm gonna get a seltzer, you know, whatever, a Monster and Red Bulls. Well, yes, you need the energy, but what happens when you drink those, or like even coffee, when you get coffee, right? You crash. You're like, I drink it, have all this energy, and then you crash, or you feel tired, or it just runs out. So my energy teas have a vitamin B complex, and they're natural caffeine. So they come from like herbal teas or like guarana tea and stuff like that. So they're natural and they're sugar-free. So then you don't have like a headache, you don't have, you know, the sugar-free high, which is why you're feeling like you have energy, but you really don't. And then you don't crash. So you feel like awake and alert and you can go throughout your day.
No matter what you're looking for, everything La Via Nutrition has to offer can be enjoyed by just about anybody.
So obviously the teas do have caffeine, so I don't like allow kids to have them, or like, I mean, some parents do. My kid is hyper enough, I don't need it. But you can, the protein shakes, my kid has been consuming since he could sip a straw, which was even earlier because I would just put it in, he'd like just suck on it, you know, whatever. It's protein. Protein is good for any human being. I think there's a misconception with like kids consuming protein, but that's like a huge part of nutrition that I think we underestimate. And even a lot of people realize like I haven't had enough protein when they start to go for goals. If you go for gaining weight or losing weight or just being better nutrition, like a nutritionist will tell you you need to consume protein.
Whatever you drink, one thing is for sure. Supporting local businesses helps our community thrive and supports that one person that took that leap of faith to starting their own business.
I think that small businesses are coming together where it's not competition anymore. I think that it's more so like I want to help people support you, and I know that you want people to support me, right? So as a small business, it's like the support of anybody is huge, but the biggest thing is always being like, this is someone who took that chance. This is someone who, it's not a big business, oh, I bought a franchise and it's just this and this and that, right? This is like a single mom, or you have someone's daughter, or you have a person who maybe like was done with life and then they find some passion and now they made a whole little business out of it. And it's never little, right? It's a small business in the sense that we're maybe one person or two people, whatever, but a business can be massive. So like if you support each other as businesses, as people, as communities, even like bigger businesses, I think are seeing the benefit of like supporting, you know, the community's businesses because they like then host, right? If you have like a big business and you host an event where you have all these small vendors, it's so beautiful to see. Like I love going to markets and seeing everybody who's now like decided to put themselves out there in selling something, being their own boss.
Yessie hopes that anyone interested makes it a point to come in, say hi, and have a drink.
I'm so laid back. I welcome everybody, right? And I want to be that. Like not only are you coming in and being like, you might not even know what you're gonna get. You're just walking in and guess what? You're gonna walk out with a smile and probably a protein shake because they're good. But I would just say like, just come in. You know, you have nothing to lose by trying something new. But not only that, it's healthy for you. It's gonna be, trust me, delicious. It's gonna be so delicious. I take so much pride in what I do. I take so much pride because I am proud of being able to provide that to like communities. And also like if I were to go to the gym, I'd want somewhere to stop. You know, so then, or if I wanted a quick stop or even just like an energy boost, like my space I think creates a good like energy. So if you walk in, like you're gonna feel that. You're not just gonna be like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing in here, or like this is creepy. You're gonna be like, oh dang, okay girl, hi, you know, and you'll have me in front like looking really creepy, but it's okay. I'll be your friend the second you walk in. So I guess just come in. You have nothing to lose. You'll always be welcome, like no matter what. Esteban, you know, my little 2-year-old toddler will love to see you, meet the kids or the grandparents or anybody. He will become best friends with you too, so yeah.
Yessie's welcoming and bubbly personality will leave you feeling like you just made a friend. And you'll find yourself coming for the drinks, but staying for the conversations. Check it out next time you're in Milwaukee, and don't forget to make it local.